Welcome back to the Profitability Podcast. I am your host, Joey Albertson, founder and CEO of the Profitability Project, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Mackenzie Christensen, as well as one of the OGs is finally back joining us, Becca Rapp, our staff accountant, and Gracie Hinton, Riley, whatever your name is, our CFO and senior bookkeeper. Today is going to be a great episode. I'm very excited to talk to you all about one of our favorite systems. If you have followed along with the Profitability Project at all recently, we are really encouraging our clients on a system called Profit First. If you've never heard of Profit First, it is not a concept that we came up with ourselves. It's based on a book written by Michael Michalowicz, I think is his last name, Mike Michalowicz. Super genius entrepreneur, not a finance guy. If you are an entrepreneur and you have not read this book, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. One of my clients read it last month after we implemented Profit First for his business. And he was like, I'm not a reader and I'm definitely not a finance guy, but I was able to read this book. I was able to get through it and it wasn't too bad. So highly recommend it. But if you're the type of person that does not want to listen to an audiobook and would prefer a hour-long podcast, then you're in the right place. We're going to walk you through what it is, why we recommend it for our clients, and what changes it can create in your business. So this episode is going to be for you. If you open your bank account, and every time you open your bank account, you have a very specific feeling thinking, we're fine, we're totally fine, right? Like, I think we're fine, question mark? If that feels like you, or I guess I should also say, if you open your bank account and go, we are very much not fine, things are not fine, then this episode could be for you too. Basically, if you're living in that world of like, you just don't really know, and you're kind of living on a hope and a prayer rather than data, and you're really sick of just kind of wondering and having a question mark around if your cash is actually fine, Profit First is going to change your life. The pattern can often feel like you have a big month or lots of sales or there's growth, and all of a sudden your bank account looks really great and you're feeling a little bit of relief, but then payroll hits. And then let's see. So you have a big month, bank account's looking good, and then payroll hits. And then all of a sudden you have all the vendors that you need to pay. And oh, did I forget to tell you you need to save for taxes every month? That's going to have to come out too. And all of a sudden you're back to the stress, back to the grind, feeling like you need to make more sales just to keep up with all the money that's coming out. And definitely I see founders who like they're on this cycle and they're paying their vendors, and then by the time all of that is gone, there's no money left and they don't even pay themselves. And that, if you're in business and you're not paying yourselves, you and I need to have a conversation, because what are we doing here? And we got to fix that. So if you're on this emotional up and down, we call it the cash roller coaster, and you are looking to get off, I for one hate cash roller coasters. I hate real roller coasters. It's just not my vibe. I like a steady, smooth river, river raft. That's kind of my speed.
A lazy river at the
Lazy river on a beach. Don't sign me up for like Knott's Berry Farm. If you're wanting to get off that roller coaster and have more of a lazy river vibe, Profit First is the tool to help you. Okay, so let's dive in and talk about why this happens. If we know we have solid margins, if our prices are correct, we're going to assume the P&L on paper is looking really healthy. Why the heck is it that 9 times out of 10 founders are still hurting for cash month over month, even when they have a profitable business? And sometimes even when their accountant is going, you're absolutely killing it. Congratulations. Everything's looking good. Why does this happen? Gracie.
Well, I feel like Becca might actually have a little bit more to say on this because I feel like a lot of this has to do with timing in business. A lot of times your revenue timing doesn't match up with your expense timing. Your money is going to come in at a different time than when you have to pay your bills. And so I think I lovingly call this when you're on that roller coaster, it's vibe accounting. You're just basing your business off of vibes. And while that can be super fun, it's just not it's not sustainable. But I think that what's really cool is when you do start to put systems in place where you can kind of see the timing and be prepared for the timing, a little bit more of a proactive approach to your expenses instead of a reactive expense. That's when you can jump off of that roller coaster. I'm a roller coaster girly, so not like you, Joey, in that I love a good roller coaster. However, not in my bank account. I want to know what's going on there. And so I just think that you can definitely plan for that. And I feel like AR, that's Becca's realm. I feel like she would have a lot to say on that too.
Yeah,
Wow,
Becca.
thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Popcorn Becca.
No, it is true. I feel like beginning of the month, typically a lot of our clients will invoice all of their customers for whatever we're invoicing for. And then it comes around to the time when we have to bill their people that work for them or their contractors. And so, like Gracie was saying, we do set up a lot of systems for our clients where we kind of have set schedules when we know that there's going to be money in, and they always know when they're going to have these bills come out. So it's not just random times of the month when we're like, oh, we have $1,000 in the bank. Let's pay this $500 bill. No, we do it twice a month, once a month, whatever our clients' cash looks like. We'll go in and pay their bills that way, so then they know and they're not unexpectedly paying $1,000 in bills, and they're like, why are we doing this? No, it's like it's set so then we can know when the time is coming and less
Yes.
stress. I would hope it's creating less stress because when the 20th comes around each month, they're like, "Oh, it's billing. I know it's coming. I know what to expect."
Yep.
I
Absolutely.
think too, it's really easy, like when we get those big deposits from our clients and we're like, yes, like we have $20,000 in the bank, like let's go and spend all of it. And they go and they pay this vendor, and they pay this bill, and they do all of that. And then pretty soon their bank account is zero, and the 20th rolls around, and they're like, oh, I still have to pay my contractors. And so I think it's really easy to, as a business owner, look at the bank account and just be like, oh, I have $20,000. Let's just spend it. And then quarter one ends and you have to pay your quarterly taxes. And you're like, oh, I didn't account for that. And now I don't have any money because I just paid all of these bills that I thought I needed to pay and I thought I had enough money. And now there's this expense that has to be paid or I'm going to get in trouble. And now what do we do? And now we're
Totally.
stuck again.
Yeah. Classic example of this revenue and expense timing is actually in accounting firms. So we, all of our clients pay before the service is rendered at least a deposit. And so in the first quarter of the year, we have a lot of cash available to us because we have a ton of people coming in for seasonal work, which is their tax prep. And so they will pay us a deposit, but we have to put that money away and basically act like we don't have it because I have to pay our tax team their payroll throughout the whole quarter. I have to pay for tax software. I have to pay for like e-signature envelope. You would not believe the amount of expenses tied to taxes. Just in case you're wondering, it's not just very talented team members. There's also a bunch of software that we pay for. But I have to pay those expenses usually twice a month, every month throughout quarter one before I can ever collect the second half of the revenue that we earned. So like January looks amazing because we got all of this money in, but then all of a sudden expenses are happening over the next 4 months. And so I have to kind of stash that cash away because if I, like you said, Kinsey, if I just went and went awesome, we're like so rich, and I just went and spent it. Well, by the time I have to pay my tax team or, buy a whole bunch more envelopes or whatever it is for these, they're not physical envelopes, just in case anyone's wondering, digital envelopes, I'd be out of cash and then I'd be stressing. So there's many reasons that this happens. Um, the other reason is that we see founders don't separate their cash intentionally. I love same client that I just had read Profit First. He is like my star pupil of Profit First. He's just the best example of this because it's worked so well. But he came to me before implementing Profit First and he was like, Joey, there's cash in the bank and I'm so afraid to spend it because I don't know what's coming out and I don't know when it's coming out and I don't know for how much. And he's like, so there's cash here, but like, can I take any of it? I'm so scared to take any of it. And he just started the business, back in Q4 of last year, so not long ago. And so he hasn't paid himself yet. He's like, there's money. Can I pay myself and still cover payroll? And that question kept him up at night. So it's not even if you don't have money in the bank, it's just knowing what you can take and what's yours versus am I going to cover payroll every time? Um, and Profit First really is designed to do that. So a lot of people have this kind of idea, if they've heard of Profit First, that it's similar to like an envelope system for their business, which is kind of true. The idea of Profit First, I mean, the system of Profit First requires that you open a handful of bank accounts and you put money into those bank accounts for those purposes. For example, you have an income account where all your income comes in, and then from that income account, you're going to put a percentage into your payroll account so that it can pay payroll, percentage into tax savings, a percentage into operating expenses, and it's kind of separated into these envelopes or separate bank accounts. That is true, but that is not all that Profit First is. That is like a tenth of what it is. The idea of Profit First at its core is exactly what it sounds like. We as founders are used to saying revenue minus expenses equals profit because that is the accounting formula, tale as old as time. That's how we, especially accountants, were bred to believe in it. Profit First flips that on its head and says we have to protect profit at all costs. So revenue minus profit is now your budget available for expenses. Profit always comes first. And that is the ticket right there. End episode. If you listen to nothing else, start with that mindset shift and implement that today, and you will get off the cash roller coaster. If you can protect your profit right here, right now, and then only spend what's left after the profit, your cash roller coaster will end. But if you're like, okay, but how do I do that? Maybe keep listening for just a second and I'll walk you through it. Okay, so before we do that, let's talk about why the roller coaster continues to happen. So I've got this idea, I've got these bank accounts set up. I think I know what I'm doing, but it's not working. I'm not getting cash, stacking cash the way I want it to. I got a tax bill that was such a surprise, so I'm hurting for cash and I'm stressed. Why is it that that continues to happen for founders?
Well, Joey, I think you just answered your own question in that is because we don't allocate those funds properly when they come in. I feel like a lot of times we will look at our bank balance. Founders will look at their bank balance and assume that that's all the money that's coming in. Kind of as we've been talking up to this point, we're not reserving money for things that are coming in, and we're hoping that the money will be there. And I feel like if we do business like that, by the end of the month, there's nothing left. And so many times I'll see owners say, well, I can't afford to pay myself because there's not enough in business. And that hurts my heart so much because the whole reason you started this business was so you could work in it and you could be profitable in it. And so owners often will eat last. And I just think that's just not the way to go. So I do think this is just with Profit First specifically, I think that that's the way to get off. And I just have to say, I love Profit First. This is how you can tell that I'm an accountant is I get so excited talking about budgeting and oh my goodness, I get to split up numbers. This is so fun.
Yes.
And when I learned about Profit First, immediately, of course, I implemented it in my personal life with myself and my husband. And my husband always was checking savings, money came in, money went out. And then all of a sudden I said, hey, we're going to open 5 bank accounts. And it was very overwhelming for him. But what has happened has been really interesting. In our personal life, we'll get paid, the money will come in, and automatically it gets divided up into all of the different things that we need. Part of it will go to rent, part of it will go to our car payment. All of these different things that we know are coming, even though it's not here yet, we're saving for it. So what it does is, okay, rent's due. The money's already in the bank. It hasn't been spent. It's there and it's allocated. So there's no stress with paying rent. We don't wonder, are we going to be able to make rent this month? No. The rent money is there. Are we going to be able to afford groceries this month? The money's there, you know?
Yes.
And same thing when it comes to fun things. Can we afford to go on a vacation this month? We've been saving, the money is there. So relating that to business, I think this is such a cool thing because as a CFO, some of the most common questions I'll get is, can I afford a new hire? Can I afford growth? Can I afford this thing? And I think what Profit First does is it takes the can I afford question out because you can look in your payroll account and say, okay, I have this much in my payroll account. I can afford this. It just adds so much clarity to those numbers, what's actually in your bank account. With that allocation, it almost puts up little guardrails for you that you know that you can hit. So I think that's
Keep going.
it. No, that's all. Go ahead, Kenzie. I could talk about this all day. This is
Cut you off. Gracie is our resident Profit First expert, her and Joey. I think too what is kind of like comforting about Profit First is that there is formulas and like we work really closely with you to determine like, okay, payroll is going to be X%. So every revenue dollar that we get in, we need to take 5% of that and put it into taxes because we know that we're going to have to pay taxes on this money coming in. So there's really like some solid formulas that we can kind of use to determine what needs to go where. And that to me is comforting because sometimes it's like, okay, I'm just going to put like X amount of dollars in this. How do I know that that's actually going to like cover what I need? And we can show you like, hey, based on your history, based on what your payroll is and your revenue and your expenses, like different things like that, we can formulate a formula that works for your business. And it could be different for every business, right? Every business has a different revenue. Every business has different payroll and taxes that they have to pay, different things like that. But we're able to kind of say, look, like here's our formulas, here's what we're doing, and here's how we can allocate that. So then when, you know, inevitably a tax bill comes up, we're like, we're good. We've got it there. We calculated it. And hopefully, like, if we calculated it right, like you have a little left over in there and it's like, okay, great. We have, you know, enough to cover this and we have a little bit of extra. That's awesome. Or, you know, it's really close. So, that is also really comforting me about Profit First because it's like we know it's there, we have the formula, we did the work to know that we have what we need to cover our expenses, and it's not just I think we can pay this, like we should have enough, hopefully we're good. There's like formula based evidence there to support it.
Yeah, it's strategic. It's planned next to, like you said, considering how much revenue is coming in, how much we need in profit. It's considering our current expenses. It's considering industry standards for the type of business you're in, what your competitors are doing. One of my favorite things to talk about is a marketing budget. It seems like business owners come to us a lot and they're like, how much should I be paying in marketing? Because we know we're supposed to be doing marketing, but we have no idea if we dump $1,000, does that mean we're going to get a 3x return? well, if it's going to guarantee a 3x return, let's put $10,000. It doesn't always work like that. And so it's really nice as a CFO to go in and say, everybody in your industry is spending this much in marketing, so we're going to put this much away. This is your target allocation, is what they call it in the book. This is kind of the goal of what we want to spend on marketing. And so we really are also reshaping your budget to be more aligned with your goals as well. One thing that we found with a client that was really powerful is when we implemented Profit First and we kind of aligned it up next to the budget, we found that their headcount was taking 48% of their total revenue, and they were not a service-based business. So just so you know, that's like crazy high, like way too much money was going to headcount. And so then we got really strategic and said, okay, we either need to be able to 3x our revenue and keep the same existing people. So can we pull that off? Can we 3x our revenue with these same people without increasing spend at all? Or we need to reduce headcount and become more efficient. And so it's not just looking at cash and putting cash away and saving for the future, although that's a huge part of it and a huge like relief, because like Gracie said, vibe accounting might get you through the next 24 hours. It's not going to get you through the month, and it's certainly not going to get you through the year. Profit First will. But it also allows us to say, like, what should we be spending our money on so that we can continue to grow even more. Okay, so let's get off the roller coaster. Let's shift things around. And just so you know, at the Profitability Project, we love implementing Profit First for our clients and helping them do that. We will help anybody anywhere implement Profit First because it's so much fun to see the transformation between like anxious, not getting any sleep founder to there's extra money, I'm going to go on vacation founder. My favorite transformation of all time. But this is something that you actually can go do and implement. Read the book. It is truly a system designed for entrepreneurs, not accounting professionals. So we are more than happy to help you. We do it all the time. And also, if you're not in a place where you can do that right now, try it on your own because you absolutely are capable. So let's kind of talk through the different steps and different things that we need to do in order for Profit First to be successful. How are we going to get off the roller coaster without, and this is a key distinction, without requiring more revenue? So you can get off the roller coaster without making more money. More money is always going to help, but only if you have systems in place to stay profitable. So there's a few different things. First is the allocation that we're talking about, the different bank accounts. There are, I think it's Parkinson's law that he mentions in the book. That I could be wrong, but I think it's Parkinson's law. And the idea, he compares money to a tube of toothpaste. And the idea is if there's space for it, it will get used. And that's a horrible way to say it. But basically what he's saying is if there's money in the bank account, you're going to spend it. That's just psychologically how humans work. And if you see there's $20,000, your brain is calculating all the ways that you can spend that $20,000 at any given moment. But if we allocate all of these dollars to their proper buckets in advance, for example, of that $20,000, we're kicking 15 over to payroll. Now your brain is only calculating how to spend the additional 5 rather than spend the 20 and not be able to cover payroll. It is not because you're broken as a founder. It's not because you're bad at money. It actually has very little to do with what you do and don't know about financial systems. And it just has everything to do with that's the way humans work. So we're hijacking that psychological response by allocating funds. All right, Gracie, you love Profit First. What's next?
What's my favorite? Whenever people come in, this is my first thing. They're like, I have a problem, Profit First. Just start it. But I think the very first thing when you're implementing Profit First is you need to open the specific bank accounts. You've got to get your buckets. And so usually how we'll do it is we'll have an income account. That's where all of the money goes in. We'll have a profit account where that's where money will go very first. And then we'll have owner's pay, tax, payroll, operating expenses. Those are kind of the main 5 payroll and owner's pay kind of go together. But the main 5 accounts that we'll open, and then that's the base. That can change based on off of your industry, off of the business that you're in, if you need more buckets, but those are the 5 that we usually start with. And we'll start right with those. Then basically the idea is when money comes in, we'll sit with you, we'll calculate what percentage. Some people like dollar amounts, that's easier, so what percentage or dollar amount is going to go into each of those buckets, and then we can move the money accordingly. What that does is it makes it so you're automatically making profit. There's always going to be money left over, and then the different accounts are then funded for the expenses that are coming. So that's, in a nutshell, the very first step of starting.
Can I say something real quick? Um, thank you. I'll
Kidding.
just leave,
Yes,
actually.
Becca, please.
I was just thinking when I first joined the team almost 3 years ago, which is crazy. I remember starting out as a bookkeeper and thinking, oh my gosh, why do these people have so many bank accounts? It's just overwhelming to look at first. And so I feel
Yes.
like a lot of people's mindsets are like less bank accounts, the better. But like this profit first is just opening new like doors for people, seeing like, okay, if I have all these bank accounts, I can move these funds. And for instance, we have a client that does this, and so it's nice because I'm the one that spends their money because I pay their bills and I pay their payrolls. And so me being able to go into their bank accounts and be like, okay, I know payroll's going to be 12 grand this month or this payroll, whatever it is. I can be like, okay, I fully know that we have enough in that bank account to not have to stress out our client, because you know
Yes.
how fun it is to message a client and be like, hi, you have payroll next week and you have $0 in your payroll account. It is not fun. But like Gracie's saying, having these allocations and these bank accounts, it just makes it so much easier. And the communication between you and your client gets so much smoother because there's no longer those awkward conversations of like, hey, by the way, you have no money to be paying payroll
True.
next week. So anyways,
So
I just
true.
had to bring that up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad
Becca
you
knows
did.
this very well. We've worked with clients who have not done profit first and live on this roller coaster where it's like we know payroll happens every other week, and somehow every other week they're going, I don't have any money for payroll, like can we push it off a day, or let me see what I can figure out to get like money in the bank. And it's just this like constant cycle of stress and worry, and you have to pay your people to have a business, but if you can't pay your people, like they're out, and so it's just so much easier to be like, we have our payroll account. We don't have to email the owner and be like, hey, I noticed you only have $100 in your account. What do you want to do for payroll this week? So,
And it's so fun. And I talked just briefly about the transformation of like anxiety to vacation. And I'm not I'm not going to tell you that the day that you open your bank accounts, all of a sudden you're going to have extra cash. The cash is the cash is the cash. Math is math, right? Like if you have $100 and you spend $100, it's still going to be zero regardless of how you divvy it up. The difference though is this mindset shift. And although it's not day one immediate, it works fast. We have a client who was super profitable, but because their collections weren't great, like Gracie mentioned at the beginning, they weren't getting paid on time. And so cash always felt tight for them. And there were a few levers that we pulled, which was really nice, but profit first was definitely the big one where we were able, I mean, we sped up collections and Becca did a really great job with that, but we were able to put money where it needed to be in advance. And I wish I was kidding. They have built up $20,000 in savings, and this is a small business, less than $1 million, 20 grand in savings in less than 3 months. It's like the most magical thing I've ever seen, and really behavior barely changed. I think sometimes when we think about Dave Ramsey or an envelope system or a budgeting hack, or we kind of have these types of conversations, founders love to be like, I just need to be more disciplined. And I am here to tell you, your problem is not discipline. It's just not. It's just this Parkinson's law. It's the way that we were designed, that we just feel like we need to spend the money because that's our job as business owners. And there is a huge, huge weight on your shoulders as the founder to be responsible for deciding where that money should go. And Profit First helps you make those decisions based on data, and that weight really can go away and the money can really start stacking. It is not a magic wand, but it very much feels like it. Even as a math person, I'm like, wait, how did we even accomplish that? Like, that looks amazing. So I want you to start imagining what your life and your business would look like if you didn't panic about payroll every time payroll came out, if taxes were never a surprise for you, if you were paying yourself consistently and you could actually dictate what that number was rather than just taking what's left over. If every time money was like stacking up and maybe the work was getting busier and revenue was growing, you knew exactly how much you had available in physical cash to hire a new employee or to buy a new software. We talked about that a lot last week. And growth decisions were taken off your shoulders. So you're growing significantly, but the stress of growing and the chaos of growing that inevitably comes when you grow and grow quickly, that stress goes away and you can just enjoy the growth instead. Imagine what that would feel like for your business. If that is what you're trying to achieve in your business, I am telling you, golden ticket, Profit First can get you there and get you there very quickly. So let's talk really quickly about, again, there's a lot of benefits to this. There are literally thousands of resources. I myself have articles and videos and now a podcast about how to implement this, but obviously there's the book itself, and there are resources available everywhere for founders. We talked about what it can feel like as a founder when you implement this change. Let's talk about when someone moves to allocation instead of vibe accounting, like Gracie calls it. I'm gonna start using that.
It's my favorite.
So prevalent. Yes, we need to
New accounting term.
trademark vibe accounting. We're getting away from vibe accounting, and we're gonna
we
be
need to put in our Instagram bio, not vibe accountant.
accounting based on everything but the vibes.
Yeah.
When we shift away from that, what else do we see? We talked kind of about the emotional, but like on paper, what are we seeing with founders, especially from an accounting standpoint?
I think one of the things that we kind of can find really quickly when we start to allocate those funds is inefficiencies.
Totally.
Where is our business, like like you said, we found out there was 48% of our revenue was going to people, and that was an insane amount. I think it's the same thing we talked about a while ago, softwares, death by a thousand cuts. We have softwares that we're all of a sudden using that we're not utilizing to their full potential, or maybe there's people that are not being the most efficient, or maybe our processes that we've developed are not the most efficient and people are having to do 3 hours of extra work because we haven't used an efficient. And I think that's really when we put it into buckets and we look at our operating account and we're like, our operating expenses are up 20% from industry standard. Why? And it's really easy to be able to look at that and look at those buckets and look at those numbers and see, okay, how can I get that down to industry standard? How can I make that better? How can I move those margins? I think that's one of the biggest things when we kind of start Profit First is it's really easy to show that based on the buckets that we're looking at and the bank accounts.
I have to tell you, when we implemented Profit First last year for our own business, I only ever think about Kenzie. I'm outing you. Kenzie goes, I need to implement Profit First in my personal life. Who wants to do it? Gracie and I have both implemented Profit First in our personal lives. I'm telling you, it's a hack. It works. It's crazy. Okay, what was I saying? Distracting me with your slacks.
Sorry. You weren't supposed to read it till after we
I'm so sorry. I'm just double. multitasking. Um, when we first implemented Profit First in our own business, I think about payroll. That is our big expense. That is our cost of goods because we're a service-based business. That is the big one. I almost never think about how much we're spending in software. And I know that's hypocritical based on this episode and last, right? But it's just kind of one of those things that's in the background that I know we spend some money, but I'm not thinking about it until we implemented Profit First and I had to make that first transfer of $3,500. And I was like, I'm sorry, $3,500. What are we spending it on? And it really did, like you said, Kenzie, it kind of gave me that gut punch of like, wait, I'm not paying attention like I think I'm paying attention, and it's not a minor expense. $3,500 is a freaking big deal. I need to think about why we're using that, how we're using it, and then I went into the exercise of like, and how much money is it bringing in for us, and I reduced it by like $1,000, and that again, it's a big deal for
Even
businesses. So
things like it maybe wasn't even that we like got rid of a software. We maybe paid an annual fee instead of monthly.
yes,
And that saved us $300 a year. And we did that with a lot of our softwares. There's different things, and that will probably be another podcast episode of ways that you can save money without having to like burn everything down.
yes,
But just things like that we were like, oh, we can actually get a discount if we pay annually. And then we save up for that throughout the year. And when that annual bill comes, we've got it, we're ready to go.
yes. And that actually is the second thing I was going to say. This is outside of Profit First, but it is a major hack that we implemented in our own business that I love. Oftentimes people will come to me and say, well, I don't want to do Profit First because I put all of my operating expenses on a credit card to get points. I want you to do that, okay? I love earning points, especially if you're going to pay for those things anyway. Rack it up, girl. Like, I want you to have points at the end of this. I have 2 Amex cards for the business. I am not anti-credit card. Never will be. I'm actually very pro credit card. But here's the difference. I'm anti-credit card when you rack it up and pay $500 in interest every month and don't pay it off. So Profit First can help you do that too. So what we do for a lot of our clients is they'll use their credit card for their operating expenses, and we'll transfer money into the operating checking account. And then we just use that checking account to pay off the credit card. So same system, you still get to hack the points. And then like Kenzie said, we went in and changed all of our softwares to annual softwares, put them on the credit card. We opened an Amex with 0% interest introductory, program, whatever they call those. And then we put that same money away every month as if we were buying it. But because we paid annually, most softwares gave us 30, sometimes even like 40% off just for switching annually. So we were still paying it monthly out of our cash, but we got to save 40% on the software and we didn't have to pay interest on our credit card. So just throwing that hack out there for you as well. That's a great cash management tool because you can reduce expenses pretty significantly without changing a single thing. Okay, let's go back to Profit First. So we find better communication with your accountants. No more conversations of, hey, there's not enough money for me to process payroll. What do you want me to do? No more owners going out and getting personal loans last minute to cover payroll. Blech, my least favorite thing of all time. No more cash emergencies. No more late night fixes of trying to figure out where you're going to pull cash from. None of that. And definitely better AR enforcement, usually by our Queen Becca over here, who's going to make sure your customers are paying you on time. Dang it, because you deserve that. What else? What other stories do you have for me that we can, let's wrap this up on a couple maybe more case studies or maybe transformations that the two of you have seen with our clients when they've implemented Profit First?
I have one. I have plenty, but the one that keeps coming to my head, I just want to start off by saying a healthy business doesn't always mean the one that is making the most. It means the one that is keeping the most in their business. And I think Profit First moves you from a top line obsession to more of the bottom line lifestyle. We're not focused on the top number, we're focused on the bottom number on your accounts. And Profit First allows you to do that because you're making profit every month. I think that the biggest thing that I see for me is how empowering it is for business owners. Specifically, I have a client who always is, can I afford this? I don't know if I can afford this. That it's almost like a decision paralysis where you say, I don't know if I can make these payments. I don't know if I can spend this. I don't know if the money's in the bank. And I think what Profit First does is it creates a clarity of where your money is, and clarity translates into speed of decision. As business owners, we're not saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna put off this expense until I can afford it." Business is fast. It's a fast-paced thing, and you have to make split-second decisions a lot of times of where you're going to be putting that money. And I think when you do know where that money is going to be in there, you're able to make those smart decisions a lot quicker in the speed that your business needs you to. And so this, like, I had one client specifically who was just in this decision paralysis saying, I don't know if I can afford this, but I really have to afford it. And as soon as we were able to allocate the money and say, "Kate, this is what you actually have in your account," they said, "Oh, I didn't even realize that I had this already saved for." And I said, "Perfect. Make that change that you need to." And so it was very empowering for this client to say, I know my money. I know where it is, and I know what I can afford. And I don't obviously I would love to help you with that and provide some insights as a CFO and say, "Yes, this is what you can afford for growth." But my favorite thing is not me telling you that, but you being able to see that for yourself, to have that clarity and make those quick decisions. So I just think it's empowering for business owners.
Super empowering, and it takes away the bank account anxiety. Most founders are looking at their bank accounts when making financial decisions, not looking at their P&L. And so this helps kind of marry those two systems together of, like you said, when you pull up your bank account, you can make a decision at a glance of, what you can or can't do, or what you should or shouldn't do. And I remember early on in the business, my husband and I used to joke that we'll make a decision, but we'll only find out if it was the right one after the fact.
Later. Uh-huh.
And we're just like, that's just the game. That's just business. Like, you only find out after. That doesn't have to be the game. You actually can know in advance if it's the right decision or not. And I love that weight is now off my shoulders, and I love seeing that weight come off of our clients' shoulders. Becca, how about you?
Yeah, I was thinking about it sitting here. I don't know if I have a specific story, but I just feel like a lot of times clients in general that feel like they're on this roller coaster and not being able to figure out how to implement profit first, they automatically go, "I'm bad at money. This is why I'm on this roller coaster. I can't figure this out. I'm just bad at money. Maybe I shouldn't be a business owner." And that's when the brakes need to come on, because no, that's not it at all. It's just the name of the game, especially with small businesses. Like, you have to learn and you have to build a structure. And that's exactly what Profit First is teaching. And that's what we're trying to help our clients implement, because when you're scaling and you're getting cash in, it can feel like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Where do I put this? How do I do this? That's exactly what we're here for. We're going to help you through each step and make sure that there's a structure that is strong and built on a strong foundation, so then you can continue to scale and not feel like you want to pull your hair out. So, I don't know. That's not like a specific story, but I'm just thinking, like, you're not bad at money. It's just how some businesses start, and it's okay because there's ways to fix it. And we're here to help.
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna do a little bit of a doorknob confessional here, and just drop this bomb on you, and then we're gonna wrap it up. But your comment reminded me of a study that I recently read, that it was meta-analyses of financial education and literacy interventions that studied a pool of data from hundreds of experiments to see whether teaching people about money changes affected how quote unquote good they were with money, or their financial literacy. And this was done in 2014. Well, one of the studies was done in 2014, and Daniel Fernandez examined 201 studies. And the conclusion was interventions to improve financial literacy explain 0.1% of the variance in financial behaviors. In English, what that means is that financial literacy has zero correlation to being doing good with money. Learning about how to be good with money does not translate to doing good things with money, which means that if you're feeling like your cash balance is low and you're having these stresses that we're talking about, it's exactly what Becca said. It's not because you're bad at money. Even if you were the greatest at money, you would have these challenges. I can say that because I do this for a living and I have had years where I'm not profitable, where I'm stressed about payroll, where I'm not, cash positive in the bank and I have those moments. If I know all that I know about money and I still have that, that tells me, and the study tells us that it has nothing to do with who you are or what you do or don't know. It just has everything to do with the fact that no one gave you a step 1 through 5 to get better. And so that's what we want to do today is Profit First is step 1 through 5 of an actual system, not an education plan, not teaching you, but an actual behavior pattern that you can implement as a founder that will change your money behavior. And it has nothing to do with whether you're a good business owner or not. You just didn't have the tools. So, dropped a bomb on you guys, but the reality is you're not bad at money, you're not bad at numbers, you just need a system, and this system can do that for you. I've seen it time and time and time again. So if scaling feels chaotic for you, particularly for your bank account, if it just feels tighter and tighter the bigger and bigger your business gets, this is something that you should absolutely implement and implement today. It will change your life. You will start making money from this business and you will start enjoying your job again, which is the most fun transformation for us. Alrighty. If you have any questions, you know where to find us on social media. We are at the Profitability Project LLC. On LinkedIn, you can find me, Joey Albertson. Please DM us. Ask us all your questions. We love them. I would love to do an episode here soon of all of the questions that we get from social media about finances. So please reach out. We'd be happy to help in any way we can. And until next time, this has been the Profitability Project and the Profitability Podcast. We'll talk soon.